Marcus Hale stepped off the starship and into the vast hall of the Stellar's conclave, feeling like he had walked into another universe. The walls shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting soft, changing colors across the faces of countless beings gathered there. Some were tall and elegant, their skin glowing faintly in shades of blue or gold. Others were small and insect-like, moving with a precision that Marcus could barely follow. All of them were here for the same reason, the most important interstellar assembly in the galaxy. Marcus had been chosen as one of humanity's envoys, but he felt far from prepared. While humans were respected across the stars for their creativity and adaptability, they were still young in interstellar politics, standing there among the alien royalty, dignitaries, and ambassadors. Marcus felt like a child in a room full of giants. He adjusted his uniform nervously and glanced around. Every chair in the hall seemed already occupied. Long tables stretched in perfect rows, with cushions that glowed faintly with a soft light. Marcus's mind raced. He had to find a place to sit, or he would appear rude or unprepared. As he walked between the tables, careful not to step on anyone's tail or hoverboard, Marcus noticed whispers and curious stares. Some beings tilted their heads, examining him with eyes that seemed too big or too many to count. He felt self-conscious, as though every step he took was being watched under a microscope. "Excuse me," he said politely to a towering figure with silver feathers. "Is this seat taken?" The feathered being inclined its head politely but shook it. Marcus smiled nervously and moved on, hoping for another open spot. And then it happened. He was passing a low, floating platform near the center of the hall when a hand slender, pale, and glowing faintly with an inner light suddenly seized his wrist. Marcus froze, startled. "Sit here," said a voice, soft yet commanding. He looked up. Princess Leora of the Olindari hovered before him. Her eyes were large and bright, with colors that shifted like liquid opal. Her hair floated slightly, as if responding to invisible currents, and her robes shimmered like the surface of a calm sea. Marcus had seen holograms of her before, but seeing her in person was overwhelming. Yes, Your Highness," Marcus stammered, trying to keep his voice steady. She guided him gently to a seat beside her. The moment he sat, Marcus felt a subtle warmth, like a quiet current of energy running along his skin. He had no idea what it was, but it made his heartbeat quicken. Around them, the room seemed to hush. Conversations paused, and dozens of eyes turned to watch, even in a hall filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Marcus felt as though everyone was aware of him. Why me?" he asked softly, trying to sound casual, though his voice shook. Princess Leora tilted her head, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "I sensed you before you even entered the hall. There is something unusual about you, something that cannot be hidden. It is why I asked you to sit here." Marcus blinked. He had expected many things as a human diplomat questions about Earth, comparisons of human technology, perhaps even polite skepticism. But a personal invitation from an alien princess, claiming she had sensed something unusual about him, was beyond anything he had imagined. I don't understand," he admitted. "I'm just a human envoy." "Humans are not so simple as they appear," Leora replied. Her gaze seemed to pierce through him, calm but intense. "Your kind has a resilience others do not, a mind that can bend without breaking. That is why you are here, and why you are important, whether you know it or not." Marcus swallowed hard. He wanted to ask more questions, but the princess's presence left him almost breathless. He realized that in a room of thousands, he had never felt more visible or more insignificant at the same time. The hall slowly returned to its normal hum of activity. Delegates returned to their conversations, and ambient lights shifted back to gentle tones. Marcus tried to focus on the event, but he could not shake the feeling that being chosen to sit here was more than luck. Minutes later, a holographic display appeared above the central dais. Symbols and star maps shimmered, showing the structure of the galaxy and the positions of member planets. Leora leaned slightly closer to Marcus, her voice almost a whisper. "The Conclave has not faced a threat like this in centuries," she said. "Few are aware of it yet, but the echo grows. And soon, It will reach minds it cannot control if we are not ready. The echo? Marcus asked. Confused, Leora nodded. A silent influence. It moves through thought, through ideas, through subtle signals. Many will not even notice it until it is too late. Marcus frowned. It sounded like a danger out of a storybook, something impossible to believe. And yet, the way she spoke with certainty, with calm authority, made him want to believe her. Why tell me this? He asked cautiously. Because, Leora said, you are part of the solution. Humans are different. Your minds cannot be predicted in the same way as others. You can resist in ways we cannot. Marcus swallowed again. He was used to challenges, diplomatic negotiations, even facing political pressure. But this felt like stepping onto a battlefield he did not understand. Before he could respond, a large gong echoed through the hall, signaling the opening of the conclave. Delegates rose to take their positions. Marcus followed Leora's lead, observing how she moved with quiet authority, her presence commanding attention without a single raised voice. As they settled into their assigned positions, Marcus noticed others whispering, pointing subtly in his direction. He realized that being the princess's choice had made him the center of attention. Normally, that would be terrifying, but for the first time, he felt a spark of something he had never expected, a sense of purpose. Perhaps, he thought, humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because no one truly understood their potential. For now, he would follow the princess's lead. He would learn, observe, and hope that he could meet whatever challenge lay ahead. Sitting beside Princess Leora, Marcus felt that the conclave was not just a meeting of worlds, it was a test. And somehow, he had already been chosen for it. As the first speeches began, Marcus allowed himself a small, almost imperceptible smile. He did not know what the future held. He did not know why he had been singled out. But he did know one thing, for the first time in his life. He felt that humans truly mattered in the galaxy. And the moment he had sat down guided by the hand of an alien princess was the moment everything had changed. The conclave hall was alive with light and sound, but Marcus felt as if he existed in a bubble beside Princess Leora. Every so often, delegates glanced at him, whispering in languages he could not understand. Despite the strange and dazzling surroundings, he could not focus on the speeches. Leora's words about the echo had taken root in his mind, and he could not shake the sense that the galaxy was on the edge of something dangerous. After the opening speeches ended, Leora leaned closer, her voice quiet enough that only Marcus could hear. I cannot explain everything in the hall, she said. The echo is subtle. If the wrong eyes or ears notice, it could complicate everything. But I need your help, Marcus. You must trust me. Marcus nodded slowly, though his mind raced. I want to help, he said, but I don't even know what the echo is or what I'm supposed to do. She regarded him thoughtfully, her shifting opal eyes reflecting concern. You do not need to understand everything yet. First, you must understand why humans are unique. Marcus blinked. Unique? I thought humans were fragile compared to other species. We've only been part of interstellar politics for a short time. Fragile? Perhaps in body, but in mind, humans are remarkable, Leora said. You can think in ways that are not predictable. You feel emotions deeply, and your decisions are not always logical, but they are strong. This makes you resistant to the echo. Marcus furrowed his brow. Resistant? Like immune? Not completely, Leora said, but your kind reacts differently. Most species can be influenced without realizing it. Humans cannot, and that difference could save millions of lives. Marcus felt a chill, not from fear, but from the weight of her words. Millions of lives. The thought of being part of something so enormous was terrifying, yet exhilarating. He had always believed that humans had potential, but he had never imagined they could matter on this scale. The princess's hand brushed lightly against his arm, a gesture that was meant to calm him. But it did more than that. Marcus realized that her touch carried not just authority, but confidence. She believed in him. Tell me, he said, trying to steady his voice. What exactly is the echo? It is not alive, at least not in the way you think, Leora explained. It is a force created long ago, an intelligence born from an experiment that went wrong. It moves through ideas, signals, even emotions. Slowly, it influences minds, erasing individuality. If it reaches full strength, it will harmonize every mind in the galaxy. Into one thought, Marcus's stomach tightened. One thought, no diversity, no freedom. He had spent his life believing that humans' differences, our stubbornness, our creativity, our unpredictability were small flaws in the universe. Now he saw that those same qualities could be the galaxy's greatest defense. You mean it could control everyone? He asked, disbelief creeping into his voice. Leora nodded. Every being it touches will lose themselves. They will obey without question, not because they want to, but because they cannot choose otherwise. It is silent. It is patient. And until now, it has avoided notice. Marcus stared down at his hands. Humans were young in the galaxy. Most species would never have thought to rely on them for salvation. Yet here he was, chosen for a reason he barely understood, facing a danger he could scarcely imagine. Why me? He asked softly. Why not another human? There are billions of us. Leora smiled faintly. You are different. Your mind has a frequency, subtle but unique. Most humans are unpredictable, yes, but some resonate in ways that the echo cannot fully reach. I sensed this in you the moment you arrived. Marcus swallowed hard. The idea that he had a special role, just for being himself, was both empowering and frightening. He had always wanted to contribute to something bigger than himself, but he had never imagined it would be on this scale. Then what do we do? He asked. Leora's gaze grew serious. First, we observe. You must watch, listen, and learn. The conclave is more than a meeting, it is a network. Thoughts, intentions, alliances. Many here will not speak plainly, but they will reveal themselves in actions. And some may already be influenced by the echo. Marcus nodded. So, I watch and wait? Not exactly, Leora said. You will also participate. Your unpredictability is a tool. Humans think in ways the echo cannot predict. By acting in certain ways, you create interference, signals that it cannot read. You may feel uncertain, but that uncertainty is your strength. Marcus felt a mixture of excitement and fear. He had always believed in human creativity, but using it as a weapon or a defense against an unseen force was far beyond anything he had done before. Yet Leora's confidence in him gave him courage. The princess glanced around the hall, ensuring no one else was listening. There's one more reason I asked you to sit beside me, she said. Proximity matters. The echo cannot easily influence those near me, and by being here, you are shielded, at least partially. You will learn from me, and I will guide you. Marcus tried to absorb the gravity of her words. Sitting beside the alien princess, he suddenly felt the importance of his presence. He had been chosen, not randomly, but for something significant, something that could change the course of the galaxy. Leora's hand brushed lightly against his again, this time with a sense of encouragement. I know this is overwhelming, she said softly, but humans have a courage that others lack. And you, Marcus, are part of that courage. You must trust yourself. Trust what you can do. The galaxy depends on it. Marcus swallowed hard and nodded. I will do my best. That is all I ask, she replied, smiling faintly. Do not doubt yourself. Even humans who do not know their full potential can surprise the galaxy. The next are passed in a blur. Speeches, debates, and presentations continued around them, but Marcus remained focused on Leora. Every so often, she would whisper a comment or a warning about subtle shifts in the hall. Delegates who appeared calm might carry a hidden tension, a faint suggestion of the echo's influence. Marcus began to notice the small signs, a hesitation in a gesture, a flicker of the eyes, a tone of voice slightly off. Leora's guidance was teaching him to observe not just what was said, but what was unsaid. By the time a break was announced, Marcus felt as if he had been in the hall for days. He had observed more in those hours than he had in years of political meetings on Earth, and yet he felt a sense of purpose that he had never known before. Come, Leora said, leading him through the hall toward a private chamber. We need to speak in private. There are things I cannot discuss where others might hear. Marcus followed, heart pounding. The hall outside was noisy and vibrant, but here, in the quiet of the chamber, he felt the weight of what lay ahead. You will not be alone in this, Leora said once the door closed. I will teach you what I can, and together we will find a way to resist the echo. But you must understand, the danger is real, and it is patient. It will test every mind it touches. Marcus nodded. I understand. I won't let it win. Leora studied him for a long moment, her eyes thoughtful. Good, courage matters, Marcus. Intelligence matters. But more than all that, unpredictability matters. That is what will give us the advantage. Remember that. Marcus felt a strange calm settle over him. The fear was still there, but it was accompanied by a sense of determination. He had been chosen, yes, but he had also chosen to act. And that choice, he realized, was just as important as he left the chamber to return to the hall. Marcus looked at the rows of delegates around him. He no longer felt insignificant. He could not see the echo, but he could sense its presence in the subtle disturbances and hesitations around him. And he knew, in the quiet certainty of his mind, that humans his mind included might just be the key to stopping it. And sitting beside Princess Leora, Marcus understood that the moment the alien princess had seized his wrist and told him to sit here was not chance. It was the beginning of a journey that would test every limit of his courage, intelligence, and humanity. The hall of the Stellar's Conclave had quieted down after the morning sessions. Delegates gathered in small groups, discussing plans, alliances, and interstellar trade. But Marcus did not join the chatter. His eyes remained alert, scanning subtle movements, listening to tones and gestures he might have ignored before. Princess Leora's warnings echoed in his mind. The echo was patient, invisible, and subtle. Any moment could reveal its presence. Marcus, Leora whispered as she approached, her robes flowing like liquid light behind her. I need you to see something you might not understand yet. Marcus followed her through a narrow corridor that led away from the main hall. The air here was cooler, tinged with a faint hum that Marcus could feel more than hear. He glanced around, noticing walls lined with glowing panels and floating displays showing charts, maps, and streams of alien text he could not read. Leora paused in front of a translucent dome. Inside, small holographic figures moved, each representing a species at the conclave. Tiny sparks flickered between them, tracing lines of thought and influence. Marcus blinked, amazed. This is a projection of the conclave's mental activity, Leora explained. I can sense the echo's interference here. Watch closely. As Marcus observed, he noticed subtle distortions. Certain lines flickered unnaturally. Some figures hesitated or moved slightly out of sync. It was almost invisible to an untrained eye, but Marcus saw it. Something unseen was nudging these minds, bending thoughts without leaving evidence. The echo. Leora said softly, it is already here, touching minds that do not even know it. It does not speak. It does not shout. It simply shifts, slowly and silently. And once it grows, it will erase individuality, one mind at a time. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He had thought of the echo as a distant threat, something vague and far away. But now, seeing its influence silent, precise, unstoppable, he understood the urgency. The galaxy was already at risk. Why can't anyone stop it? He asked. Why hasn't anyone noticed before? Leora's eyes darkened slightly. Because it is clever. It does not act in obvious ways. It adapts. It hides in thought patterns, in small decisions, in fleeting emotions. Most species are predictable. That is why the echo can influence them. Humans are different. Your unpredictability is your strength. And that is why you are here. Marcus swallowed hard. His mind raced with questions. How could a human resist something that influenced minds so completely? How could one person him make any difference? You will learn, Leora said. Step by step. Observation first, action later. For now, I want you to practice noticing the echo. Watch for changes, hesitation, or patterns that do not make sense. Marcus nodded. He focused on the holographic projection, noting even the smallest deviations. He realized that detecting the echo was like solving a puzzle where the pieces constantly moved. One wrong move, and he could miss it entirely. But he felt a spark of excitement. This was not just diplomacy or politics, this was a challenge that tested his mind, his senses, and his instincts. Over the next hour, Lior guided Marcus through the subtle signs. A flicker of hesitation here, a tone slightly off there. An unusual repetition of gestures each was a clue. Marcus found himself growing more confident, recognizing patterns he had never noticed before. "You see," Leora said, a hint of pride in her voice. "You are learning faster than I expected. Humans have an advantage many species do not, attention to detail combined with flexible thinking. You notice what others ignore." Marcus felt a thrill at her words. For the first time, he realized that humans as kind were not just young and inexperienced in the galaxy. They were different, and sometimes being different was more powerful than being strong or wise. But then, Leora's expression grew serious. "It is not enough to notice. You must also act when the time comes. The echo adapts. It learns from observation, and it will test you in ways you cannot imagine." Marcus frowned. "Test me? How?" "Patience," Leora said. "The echo does not attack directly. It waits, probing, searching. It will exploit fear, doubt, or indecision. It will whisper in the minds of those it touches. And when the moment is right, it will strike." Marcus swallowed, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had imagined danger in many forms: battles, political schemes, environmental disasters, but nothing like this. An invisible force, touching minds, shaping reality without leaving a trace. And he was meant to confront it simply by being human. Leora's eyes softened. "Do not be afraid. Fear can be your enemy, but courage, careful observation, and trust in your instincts, these will keep you safe. And humans have something the echo cannot predict: choice. The ability to act differently, even when all seems certain." Marcus took a deep breath. He had always believed in human ingenuity, but never like this. Now, he understood that his mind is choices. His unpredictability might matter more than any weapon or starship. "Are we ready to try?" Leora asked. Marcus nodded. "I think so." She led him back to the conclave hall, but this time they did not sit quietly. Leora guided him toward areas where delegates' minds showed small signs of interference. Marcus observed closely, noting patterns, small hesitations, and unusual thoughts reflected in subtle gestures. "Notice this," Leora whispered, pointing at a tall, silver-skinned diplomat. The figure hesitated mid-gesture, a slight stutter in its speech pattern. Marcus focused, realizing that the echo was probing, seeking an entry point. "Now," Leora said, "do nothing obvious. Let it sense unpredictability in your presence. Humans react differently. That alone can disrupt its influence." Marcus followed her instructions carefully. He moved slightly, adjusted his stance, and spoke with a small but deliberate unpredictability. Almost immediately, he noticed subtle changes in the surrounding minds. The echo's influence faltered, flickering in small sparks across the projection. "You see?" Leora said softly. "Even small actions matter. Your presence alone is interference it cannot fully anticipate." A sense of pride and wonder surged in Marcus. He had never felt so important, not because of power or authority, but because of his very nature. His mind as humanity was a weapon in itself. As the day continued, Marcus and Leora observed more subtle patterns. Some delegates were entirely unaffected, moving with calm purpose. Others showed faint signs of hesitation, tiny flickers of doubt, or unusual repetition. Each observation added to their understanding of the echo's reach and limits. By the time the afternoon sessions began, Marcus was exhausted but exhilarated. He had learned more in hours than in years of human politics. And yet, the echo remained elusive, a shadow at the edge of perception. Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have done well today," she said. "But this is only the beginning. The echo is patient, and its tests are only growing stronger. Tomorrow, we will take another step. Observation is important, but soon, action will be required." Marcus nodded, understanding the gravity of her words, action. Observation alone would not be enough. They would need to act carefully, decisively, and unpredictably. As they walked back to their seats in the hall, Marcus glanced around at the delegates, sensing the invisible currents of influence that shifted with every thought and gesture. He realized that the galaxy was a delicate web of minds, and the echo threatened to unravel it. But sitting beside Princess Leora, Marcus felt a quiet confidence. He had a role, a purpose, and a unique strength. Humans were young, yes, but unpredictable minds like his could turn the tide. And as the sun-like lights of the conclave shimmered across the hall, Marcus made a silent promise to himself. He would not let the echo win. He would learn, observe, and act. And he would prove that humans simple, unpredictable, and stubborn could matter on a scale the galaxy had never imagined. The hidden danger was real, and it was patient, but Marcus was ready to face it. The day after Marcus's first lessons in observing the echo, the conclave hall buzzed with quiet tension. Delegates moved with purpose, exchanging nods, whispers, and subtle gestures that Marcus was learning to read. Every glance seemed significant, every hesitation a possible sign of the echo's subtle influence. The princess had promised that action would soon be required, and Marcus felt the weight of anticipation pressing against him. "Marcus," Leora said, her voice low as she approached him, "today we take the next step. Observation is important, but now you will participate directly. The echo is growing stronger. We must act before it spreads further." Marcus nodded, trying to calm the nervous flutter in his chest. He had trained himself to notice patterns, to detect hesitation, and to recognize the smallest sign of influence. But acting, directly influencing events to counter the echo, was entirely different. "What exactly do I do?" he asked. "Follow my lead," Leora replied. "Your unpredictability is our advantage. When the echo senses patterns, it adapts. But humans act without full predictability. That will disrupt it." Together, they moved to a section of the hall where delegates from several species were gathered. Marcus immediately sensed small distortions, subtle hesitations in gestures, slight delays in speech. These were all indicators that the echo had begun to influence minds here. Leora gestured toward a holographic projection showing the subtle currents of thought. Lines flickered in strange ways, indicating the echo's presence. Focus on the small things, she whispered. A gesture, a glance, even a pause can matter. Introduce unpredictability. Marcus watched closely. A tall, armored diplomat hesitated mid-gesture. Marcus adjusted his own position, moving slightly out of expected patterns. He spoke a brief, unexpected comment about an unrelated topic. Almost immediately, he saw the projection ripple lines that had been steady flickered and shifted. "It works," Leora said softly, a rare smile crossing her face. "Humans introduce variables the echo cannot predict. You are a shield, Marcus. Your actions are interference." Marcus's heart raced. For the first time, he realized the true power of human unpredictability. His thoughts, choices, and even small gestures could protect thousands of minds from subtle influence. He had spent his life believing humans were minor players in the galaxy. Now he saw that they could be essential. The session continued, and Marcus and Leora moved through the hall, carefully testing reactions. Wherever the echo's influence grew, Marcus acted small movements, questions, deviations from expected behavior. Each time, he noticed flickers in the projection, subtle disruptions that indicated success. But the echo was not defeated. It adapted quickly, probing new patterns, learning from human interference. Marcus felt a tension unlike anything he had known. This was not a battle of weapons or technology, it was a battle of minds, wits, and unpredictability. Every action had consequences, and one mistake could allow the echo to regain control. At one point, Marcus and Leora approached a cluster of delegates who were clearly under influence. Their gestures were slow, their speech measured, almost mechanical. The echo's effect was growing stronger here. "You must act carefully," Leora warned. "A single wrong move could strengthen its hold." Marcus nodded, then did the simplest thing he could think of. He asked an unrelated question to one of the delegates. Something completely unexpected. about a personal experience from his life on Earth. The question was off-topic, humorous even, and the delegate blinked in surprise. The projection flickered violently. The lines of influence wavered, and Marcus saw a momentary pause in the echo's grip. It had not been defeated, but it had been disrupted. Exactly, Leora said, her voice calm but excited. Humans are unpredictable in ways no other species is. Your choices create interference, resistance, and unpredictability. That is how we protect minds. Marcus felt a sense of pride and responsibility unlike anything he had experienced. For years, he had believed humans were still learning, still young in the galaxy. Now he understood that their unpredictability was not a weakness, it was a strength, one that could save entire civilizations. As the day progressed, Marcus and Leora continued to test and observe. Each small action, each tiny deviation from expectation, weakened the echo's influence in subtle ways. Marcus began to understand the rhythm of this invisible battle. Observation, then careful action. Small disruptions that amplified across the hall. During a brief pause, Leora spoke softly. You are doing well, but soon, the echo will attempt more direct influence. You must be prepared to resist stronger attacks, to make choices quickly and decisively. Humans can do this. Trust yourself. Marcus nodded, feeling both fear and determination. He had seen the echo's reach, and he knew how dangerous it was. Yet he also knew that human unpredictability could be the key to resisting it. He had a role to play, and he could not fail. When the afternoon session ended, the hall emptied quickly. Delegates returned to their quarters, many still unaware of the subtle battle that had taken place in their minds. Marcus and Leora remained behind, reviewing the projection and noting patterns. This is only the beginning, Leora said. The echo will grow, but so will our understanding. Humanity has a role that no other species can fill. Your unpredictability is the weapon, Marcus. Your mind is the shield. Marcus felt the weight of her words. He had always known humans could adapt, innovate, and survive, but he had never imagined their true power on this scale. Now he saw that being human, thinking, feeling, choosing was itself a force in the galaxy. Leora studied him, her eyes reflecting pride and concern. You are learning quickly, but remember, this is not about strength or weapons. It is about thought, choice, and unpredictability. The echo cannot predict you. That is why we need humans. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. He had faced challenges before, but nothing like this. And yet, for the first time, he felt capable, prepared, and essential. That evening, as he walked through the quiet corridors of the conclave, Marcus reflected on the day. He had seen the echo's subtle influence, witnessed its growing reach, and tested his own ability to disrupt it. Each small success had given him confidence, but he knew the true challenge was still ahead. When he returned to his quarters, Marcus received a holographic message from Earth, a simple message, reminding him of home, of family, and of the people he represented. For a moment, he allowed himself to remember why he had come here, not just as a diplomat, but as a human. Leora's words echoed in his mind. Unpredictability matters. Choice matters. Humans matter. And now, Marcus understood fully. The echo could probe minds, disrupt thought, and erase individuality, but it could not predict the human heart, nor anticipate the decisions of those willing to act without expectation. He sat by the window of his quarters, looking out at the stars beyond the conclave. Each star seemed distant, silent, yet alive with possibility. Humanity was small in the vast galaxy, yet their choices could ripple across worlds, shifting the course of history. Marcus clenched his fists, a quiet determination settling over him. He would face the echo, resist its influence, and protect the freedom of minds everywhere. He would prove that humans stubborn, unpredictable, and inventive were more than young players in the galaxy. They were essential, and when he returned to the hall the next day, beside Princess Leora, Marcus was ready to act, ready to fight, ready to show the galaxy that humanity had a strength no other species could replicate. For in the quiet power of choice, in the unpredictable mind of a human, the echo would find its greatest challenge yet. The conclave hall shimmered under the soft lights of the crystalline ceiling. Delegates moved with precision, but the air was tense, charged with a subtle energy that Marcus could sense, even without seeing the holographic projections. The echo had grown stronger overnight, its influence more visible, and its subtle tendrils reached deeper into the minds of even the most experienced diplomats. Marcus sat beside Princess Leora, taking a deep breath. Today was the day they would confront the echo directly. After days of observation, testing, and small interventions, the moment had arrived to turn human unpredictability into a force strong enough to resist the silent menace. "Are you ready?" Leora asked softly, her eyes reflecting calm authority. Marcus nodded. "I'm ready. I've learned to notice it, to disrupt it. I just hope it's enough." Leora placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "It will be. You are not alone, Marcus. We act together, and your choices, your unpredictability, will protect more minds than you realize." The first signs appeared almost immediately. A cluster of delegates near the central dais began to move in unison, their gestures unnaturally synchronized. Marcus noticed the subtle flicker in their eyes and the slight delay in their speech. The echo was attempting to assert direct control. "Watch closely," Leora whispered. "Do not act yet. Observe the pattern. Feel its rhythm." Marcus focused, scanning the delegates with all the concentration he could muster. He noticed the faintest irregularities, a hand that moved slightly offbeat, a breath that did not match the rhythm, a blink out of sync. The echo was probing, learning, and adapting. "Now," Leora said, "intervene. Be unpredictable." Marcus shifted slightly, altering his posture in a way that drew attention. He spoke, not to the delegates directly, but loud enough for the room to hear. "I wonder if anyone here has ever seen Earth's oceans at sunrise?" It was a small, unusual comment, seemingly unrelated to anything happening in the conclave. But Marcus saw immediate effects. The synchronized movements of the influenced delegates wavered. A ripple of hesitation spread across the hall. The echo faltered. It had not anticipated this deviation from protocol, this human unpredictability. "Yes," Leora whispered. "Keep going. Distract, disrupt, introduce uncertainty." Marcus moved from cluster to cluster, using subtle actions, changing the tone of his voice, asking odd questions, moving unexpectedly. Everywhere he went, the projection of minds flickered. Lines that had been steady now wavered and shifted. The echo was being challenged, its influence disrupted by nothing more than a human mind thinking differently. The other delegates began to notice the change. Those who had been influenced paused, their gestures slightly hesitant. The synchronization broke down. Marcus realized that his actions, though small, were creating a chain reaction. Human unpredictability was spreading resistance across the room, but the echo was not defeated. It adapted quickly, targeting Marcus directly. A strange pressure pressed on his mind, subtle and almost imperceptible, nudging his thoughts, trying to predict his next move. Marcus felt a shiver, the first real fear he had experienced since arriving at the conclave. Leora's hand tightened on his arm. "Do not let it control your mind. Think freely. Trust yourself." Marcus closed his eyes briefly, focusing on the simplest thoughts, the ones that were uniquely his, memories of Earth, laughter with friends, the smell of rain on dry soil. He let those thoughts fill him, unstructured and unpredictable. The pressure lifted. The echo could not anticipate the human mind when it was free and undirected, opening his eyes. Marcus moved again, this time raising his voice slightly, telling a short, unusual story about a sunrise he had once seen. The delegates nearest him paused, blinking, breaking free from the echo's influence. The ripple spread across the hall, more and more delegates regaining control over their thoughts. "It's working," Leora said, her voice barely above a whisper, but full of excitement. "Keep moving, keep thinking differently." Marcus felt a surge of confidence. He had been chosen for this role, and now he understood why. Humans were unpredictable, creative, and resilient. Every step he took, every choice he made, was a barrier the echo could not easily overcome. The echo, sensing its influence slipping, reacted more aggressively. The subtle pressure on Marcus's mind intensified. Images of conformity, of sameness, attempted to invade his thoughts. He could feel it reaching into the minds of those around him, trying to regain control. Now, Marcus. Leora shouted, urgency in her voice. Act together with me. Marcus nodded. He and Leora synchronized their efforts. She used her Elendari telepathy to amplify his unpredictability across the room. Together, their combined influence created a network of resistance. The projection of minds glowed with scattered patterns. The echo's lines flickering and breaking apart. The hall erupted in whispers. But this time, the delegates were speaking their own thoughts. Free of influence. The echo recoiled, unable to predict the next human action, the next unplanned movement. Marcus could feel its presence weakening, retreating into the edges of perception. It's retreating, Leora said softly, though her eyes scanned the hall carefully. Not gone, but it cannot control freely. Not while humans remain unpredictable. Marcus's chest heaved with relief. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel pride. He had done what many thought impossible. Humans simple, unpredictable, creative had resisted a force that threatened the galaxy. The conclave hall slowly returned to normal. Delegates looked around, slightly dazed, but free from the subtle mental influence that had been pressing on them. Few understood exactly what had happened, but everyone felt the difference. There was clarity where there had been subtle confusion, freedom where there had been gentle control. Leora placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. You have done more than you know, she said. Humanity has proven its value, not in weapons, not in technology, but in choice, creativity, and unpredictability. That is our greatest strength. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. He had always thought humans were young players in a galaxy of older, wiser species. Now he knew they were essential, not because they were strongest, but because they were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of thought beyond expectation. The rest of the conclave proceeded in a new atmosphere. Delegates moved freely, speaking openly, and the subtle currents of influence had vanished. Marcus noticed delegations looking at him with curiosity and respect, though they did not fully understand why. He had proven, in a quiet but powerful way, that humans could matter on a scale no one had imagined. As the conclave ended, Leora stood beside Marcus on the steps of the central dais. She gazed out at the assembly, her eyes filled with pride and hope. You see, Marcus, humans are not just young and inexperienced. You are necessary, capable, and unpredictable. The galaxy is safer because of you. Marcus looked at her, gratitude and awe filling him. He realized that the moment the princess had seized his wrist and told him to sit beside her had not been chance. It was destiny. He had been chosen to act, to resist, and to show the galaxy the power of humanity. When the conclave hall emptied, Marcus stood near the crystal window, looking out at the stars stretching endlessly beyond the conclave. Each star seemed distant, silent, yet alive with possibility. Humanity was small, yes, but capable of rippling influence across worlds. He thought of Earth, of friends, of the lives they could impact. And he understood one truth clearly: unpredictability, choice, and courage could change the course of history. Princess Leora's voice interrupted his thoughts. Come, Marcus. There will be questions and recognition. But remember, this is only the beginning. The echo may return, but humans will always be unpredictable. That is our safeguard. Marcus nodded. He felt a new sense of purpose. He had acted, and his actions had mattered. Humanity had mattered. The galaxy had learned that even a single human, with courage and unpredictability, could stand against a force that threatened the minds of millions. And as he walked beside the alien princess, Marcus smiled quietly. For the first time, he understood that humans were not just passengers in the galaxy. They were protectors, innovators, and essential players. The seat he had taken beside Princess Leora was no longer just a place to sit. It was the seat of fate, a place where humanity had stepped forward and shown its strength. And Marcus knew that whatever came next, humans would be ready.